Okay, so I love looking at people's stash videos, and my personal yarn stash, y'all, it's sad. Hello everyone, Rochelle here, and I'm back to share some yarn goodness with you all today. So I have been tagged. I am doing the Made with Love Knitters and Crochet tag, and I was tagged by Made with Mimi, who has her YouTube channel, and she is the creator of this tag. And also I was tagged by Marquita Makes, aka Naughty Crush, aka also, she's the one that gave me this awesome furls hook. You all should check out her channel for sure. I love that hook. Okay, so I was tagged, which is super exciting. I'm not sure if I've done a tag before. I don't know. But anyway, so let's get started. There are 10 questions and I have them printed out. You know, most people use their phones or their tablets to look at the question, but because I'm old and I like to print things out, yeah, that's what I do. It's so funny because I actually work in IT. Like that's my, 9 to 5, I guess you could say. I work in IT, but once I clock out for the day, I really don't want to do a whole lot with technology. So I do things like print out papers when I could have just read these questions on my phone. Yeah. Anyway, so let's get started. Numero 1. How long have you been knitting / crocheting? Whew, okay, I've been crocheting since I was a child. I probably started like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10. I think I started sewing first. So I would say crocheting somewhere around 10. I probably had that wrong. I've been crocheting for so long that I've kind of lost count. I don't even know the year that I started. It's been like, I feel like it's been like 20 years. If not more. I don't know. I feel like I've been crocheting forever. Alright, and I have been loom knitting since 2015. And I have been hand knitting since 2016. Yeah, 2016 with the hand knitting. And yeah, it's been great. It's been great to be able to like change through different crafts. I probably started sewing and cross stitching first. Oh, and latch hooking. Yes. I was latch hooking at a very, very early age, making rugs, all of that stuff. So that was fun. But then I started crocheting, and then in my adult years, I started knitting and loom knitting. So really enjoy those. All right. So numero 2. What is your oldest make? My oldest make, it was a beret hat. And the reason why I wanted to make it was because my grandmother had this friend, older friend, and she used to always wear these berets. And she had this beautiful white hair, whitish gray hair, and she used to always wear a beret on top. And so that was one of my oldest makes that I can remember because I've been crocheting like for a really long time. But that's one of my oldest makes, and I didn't have a pattern. I just kind of winged it. I'm not even sure if it fit that well. But anyway, I think that's my oldest project. Like I said, it's been so long. My oldest knitting project, I didn't bring it with me. I did not bring it with me. But if you go back, and I will leave a link or some sort of link to my very first knitting video, and you'll see what was my first knitting project. I still have it, I don't wear it very often, but I still have it. And loom knitting, I have to go find that one too. It's been a long time, but my very first knitting project was a scarf. It was a simple knit purl scarf. And my first loom knitting project was a hat. It was made out of bulky weight yarn. So yeah, good times. And once again, if you all want to see that, I will leave a link in the description box to the video where I talked about loom knitting for the first time. I've been on YouTube since August of 2015, I believe. So yeah, I will link those videos below. Okay. Oh, and also I made scarves when I was in high school. And they were awful. They were too long and they were crazy colors. Of course, we were in high school, so I guess that was fine. But yeah, funny times. Very, very funny times. All right, numéro 3. What's your most recent make? Okie dokie, I have them here. Now this one I have not shown on the channel yet, but my husband asked for a beanie hat and he wanted it to be black and brown. So I made this, and in my next video, I will tell you all more about this hat, but it is a beanie hat. He really likes it. So this is it. And let's see, is there anything else I have made? No, I haven't made anything else. Well, I haven't finished anything else. All right, so numéro 4. What is your dream yarn? Well, as an indie dyer, I really had to think about this one, because one of the reasons why I started dyeing yarn in the first place was because when I would go into a yarn store, I couldn't find what I was looking for. Like, it was in my head, but I couldn't find it. So then I started dyeing yarn myself. So I don't really think I have like a dream yarn or dream yarn brand or anything like that. However, there are some fibers that I have not crocheted or knitted with that I would love to try. So one is, I would love to use a yarn with like a really luxurious mulberry silk or baby camel kind of blend. I can imagine that being really, really soft. There's a lot of great alpaca yarns out there. Unfortunately, my skin does not like alpaca, which is kind of crazy. Certain alpaca I can get away with, but my hands always feel a bit itchy like after handling alpaca yarn, which is so unfortunate because there's a lot of beautiful alpaca yarn out there, but it's just not for me, unfortunately. But my dream fibers would have to be like a really nice like baby camel, something like that, something super, super luxurious. But maybe one day I will get to use that. All right. Oh, there's another one. So have you all seen the zebra yarn? Zebra yarn is basically like, it's black and white yarn that's made of like a Peruvian Highland wool. And I'm not sure how much it costs. I'm not sure if it's expensive or not, but I would love to try that yarn. I know that it got really popular a few years ago. So yeah, I would love to try the zebra yarn. And I would like to try more woolly, non-superwash yarns anyway, but sometimes yarns that aren't superwashed and they're like just 100% wool, sometimes they feel a little scratchy to me. But I do know that there are few yarn dyers out there that, you know, their wool is soft. Like, I've heard that their wool is soft, so I would definitely like to give that a try. Yeah. All right. Numéro 5. How many whips do you have? Well, I currently have one knitting whip and one crochet whip. And so my crochet whip is this corner to corner blanket. The pattern is by Jada and Stitches. So that's that. And my knitting whip, pull that out. I am working on the Profusion shawl, or Profusion cowl. And this is by Karen Nicole. So this is what I've been working on. And in my next video, hopefully I would have added some more rows to both of those projects so I can share my progress with you all. And that's like, I think sometimes with crocheting you can see your progress rather quickly, but with knitting it seems like sometimes it takes forever for me to see my progress. But that's what stitch markers and oh, that's what progress keepers are for, right? Okie dokie. Numéro 6. What does your stash look like? Okay, so I love looking at people's stash videos, and my personal yarn stash, y'all, it's sad. Like, it's really small. I used to have a ginormous collection of yarn. But you know, I've definitely cut down a lot over the years. So I don't have nearly as much. And yes, I don't really have nearly as much personal stash as I used to. So of course, I do dye yarn. So I do have a lot of hand dyed yarn dyed by me that you know, it's sitting in containers and it's away from my personal stash, and it's basically, you know, it sits in these clear containers until I sell them. So I can't really count that as my stash because it's not stash yarn. It's yarn that's actually in my shop. Yeah, so that's that. And also, I am having a sale in my shop. It's 30% off, and it's gonna last, not sure what today is. It's only gonna last a few more days. Of course, I'm sure if you all follow me on Instagram and social media and all that stuff, you've already heard about it. But my 30% off sale, it's only gonna last a few more days, maybe like 2 or 3 more days, something like that. So yeah, so if you want to check it out, go ahead. But anyway, getting back to my personal stash, I am going to insert a clip of my yarn stash so you all can see what I'm working with. Okay, so you all just saw my teeny tiny personal stash, and I also have a little helper that helps me with my yarn. It sits atop of my yarn. Okay, so let's see. Numero 7. Are you a loose or tight crocheter or a knitter? This one is tough because it depends on the fiber content. So like, okay, so I made a gauge swatch. Let's see, where's that yarn? I made a gauge swatch with this yarn, and this yarn is a merino wool silk blend yarn. I think it's like an 85-15, so 15% of this is silk, and it's really shiny, it's really slippery, and because of that, I think I'm gonna knit. No, I'm crocheting with this one. So my stitches tend to be very loose. So working with this yarn definitely makes me a loose crocheter because, you know, anytime I'm dealing with yarn, it's really silky, really smooth. I tend to have a very loose type of tension. However, if I am working with a 100% acrylic type of yarn, my gauge, my tension, it's fine. There's no problems. I'm not loose or a tight knitter or crocheter. So it really just depends on the yarn that I'm using. So if I'm using like an acrylic yarn, my tension is just fine. But if I'm using like a really slippery type of yarn, really silky type of yarn, then my gauge, and I tend to be like a looser crocheter or knitter. So yeah, that tends to happen. Now, of course, if you use like a blue face Leicester or BFL type of yarn, then it's a little bit more of a, it's still soft, but it's still coarse. It's like a coarser type of yarn. So, you know, I tend to do really well there in terms of tension. But then like if I'm knitting or crocheting with the MCN yarn, merino nylon cashmere, or merino cashmere nylon, then I'm a loose crocheter or a loose knitter. So for me, it just depends on the fiber content that determines. And also, I am the same way when it comes to loom knitting. Like when it comes to, I think when it comes to crochet, I'm really relaxed. But when it comes to knitting, whether it's hand knitting, loom knitting, whatever, that very first row is always too tight. Like always too tight. And sometimes if I'm hand knitting, I will go up a needle size because I have interchangeable needles. I will go up a needle size, and then when I get to the second row, I'll drop back down. I'll change out my needles and drop back down because, y'all, I don't know what it is. The first row of my knitting is just like so tight. All right, next question, numero 8. So, when, if ever, do you weave in your ends? Y'all, I have the bad habit of not weaving in my ends as I go. And I know I should be weaving in my ends as I go, because if I did, it would save me a lot of headache, like a lot of headache. Especially when I am alternating colors and then I get to the end, it would be so helpful. Let's see, where did that hat go? Oh, I'm dropping stuff. Let's see, this hat. Can't even find where I did the seam. Oh yeah, this hat uses 2 different colors. So of course I could have just carried the yarn, but still, if you carry the yarn, you're still gonna have ends to weave in. So I didn't carry the yarn on this hat, but by the time I got to the end of the hat, I had like, I don't know, 8 or 9 different little tails that I had to weave in. Which is a pain because it's, you know, I'm using black yarn, which, yeah, it's bad. But anyway, there are some knitters and crocheters out there who, you know, they weave in as they go, and kudos for them. I wish that I was more like that, but it just doesn't end up that way. So I'm going to try to do better. All right, numero 9. What is a problem, or what is a pattern? I'm thinking about my ends now. What is a pattern that you can't stop thinking about? Okay, so I have a few. I just went on Ravelry and I was looking at some projects. So for crochet, there's a pattern called the top stitch toque and cowl. Yes, the top stitch. Say that 10 times. That's a tongue twister. The Top Stitch Toque and Cowl by Colleen Wester. See, this is why I have to have notes, because I like to credit people for their patterns, and I like to get the pattern name right. But that is by Colleen Wester, and she or Colleen Webster, and she is Evolve Crochet on Instagram. That's a really good IG account to follow if you're into crocheting. Yeah, so that's Evolve Crochet on Instagram. And so I will definitely be starting that project soon. So in terms of knitting, what I want to work on is either the Getting Warmer cowl or the Bonjour High cowl by Espace Tricot. I definitely want to start on either one of those. They're both great. One uses like an Aran weight type of yarn, and then the other one uses like a thinner type of yarn. And so yes, both of those are by Espace Tricot, and that is a yarn shop in Canada. All right, last one, numero 10. Yeah, so your biggest knitting or crochet goal. I have a lot. And also I'm counting in French, and I'm just trying to did I say 2 and 10 right? Numero 2, numero 10. They're so confusing. But anyway, so your biggest knitting or crochet goal. I have a lot. I want to loom knit more. That's for sure. I haven't loom knitted in a long time, and my looms are just looking at me like, why don't you love me anymore? They're just looking at me every time I go by. They're just looking at me. Also, I want to Tunisian crochet, because I have had Tunisian crochet hooks on my shelf for years, and I've never picked them up. I've never attempted to Tunisian crochet, so I've got to get my butt in gear and definitely work on that. Also, I have a lovely drop spindle that is just chilling in a box, and it's just not getting any love. I need to pick up my drop spindle. I need to get back into spinning yarn. Also, I want to knit and crochet more garments because I've never knitted a sweater before. Of course, I've crocheted a sweater, but I've never knitted a sweater before. So I would definitely like to work on more garments, and I would like to make more tops, more crochet tops, because I do like that. I've kind of like, I don't really wear shawls and stuff as much, but I would like to make more garments, that's for sure. And another thing that I would like to do as a goal is to learn more knitting and crochet stitches. I usually keep it pretty basic. You know, when it comes to crocheting, I'm a little bit more adventurous. But when it comes to knitting, you know, I can knit, purl, make one right, make one left, and 2 stitches together. Like, I know the basics of knitting, and I can crank out, you know, quite a few projects, quite a few knitted projects. But I would really like to elevate my knitting and my crocheting and learn some more stitches. That's for sure. I think that's all the questions, I believe. I definitely want to wear my handmade garments more. It's really difficult because here in Eastern North Carolina, y'all, we don't have real weather. And just like today, I'm in short sleeves and it's crazy. But then tomorrow, it'll be snow on the ground. So the weather in Eastern North Carolina is ridiculous. And I think that's why I don't wear a lot of my handmade projects, because a lot of them are shawls and scarves and stuff like that, so, and hats, and it's just too warm to wear them. So, but I definitely want to change that this year going forward. And North Carolina weather is so weird. Like, most people are going to have cold weather in December, January, February. No, Eastern North Carolina, we are behind. It might not get really cold until like the end of February or early March. It's a hot mess. Like, we can have 4 seasons in one day, it seems like. But that's North Carolina for you. Alright, so I have enjoyed doing this tag, and I do have to tag a few people. So the people that I would like to tag is Trisha from Tada Diva. I would also like to tag Casey from Young Folks Knit. And last but certainly not least, I would like to tag Jaden from Little Prairie Pearl. And I will leave a link to all of their channels in the description box below, as well as I will leave links to Marquita's channel and to Mimi's channel, who of course is the creator of this tag. So once again, thank you all so much for tagging me. I really enjoyed doing this, and until next time, bye.